Alright guys, it's time to take to the skies with Fox McCloud and friends in Star Fox Zero.
Pew pew! This is essentially a reimagining of the Nintendo 64 game, Lylat Wars. The evil Andross has unleashed an invasion throughout the Lylat system, and it's up to the Star Fox crew to put a stop to it all. You start on the planet Corneria and fight your way through the system towards planet Venom, where Andross awaits. And along the way, you'll find quite a few homages to classic Lylat Wars levels.
Now, I loved the original 64 game, and I think it still holds up as one of the best on-rails shooters ever.
Yes, and we also loved the 3DS remake, and a part of me wishes they had maybe done a remake for this one instead of a reimagining, because they've reimagined a much worse game.
Affirmative. A large part of the game's problems come from the new control scheme where the Wii U's gamepad acts as a first-person cockpit view, and you'll use the gamepad's screen and motion controls to accurately aim at enemies and control your ship in certain situations.
And unfortunately, while there are moments where you can see its potential, it usually just gets in the way of the action. It feels a bit like a failed gimmick.
Yeah, I don't like having to split my attention between the TV and the pad. It doesn't feel intuitive. And the original Star Fox had such a great formula, but all of these new controls have messed it up completely.
Yeah, it does have a few good moments though, especially when it embraces that Star Fox heritage of just solid, good on-rails shooting.
Affirmative. But unfortunately, very few of the game's missions focus on that style of gameplay. The majority of the game takes place in either open, all-range mode spaces where you fly in a small arena, or you'll regularly have to transform into a chicken walker or pilot other vehicles through some fairly bland and slow levels.
Not to mention that Chicken Walker is the least fun thing to control in video game history.
Now, we could go on, but rather than dwell on the negatives, I think we should just leave it there and say that we didn't enjoy it much. I'm giving it 2 rubber chickens.
Yes, when this game is at its best, it's a pale imitation of a game from 20 years ago. And when it's at its worst, it's a mess of gimmicky controls and weak level design. So I'm giving it a single rubber chicken. But it wasn't the only Star Fox game to come out. There's also Star Fox Guard.
Star Fox Guard is a tower defense game where you have to protect the core of your base from waves of robots. You have been hired by Slippy's uncle, Grippy, who runs a mining company, and he needs you to help defend against naughty robots who are trying to get in and shut it down.
But whereas most tower defense games have you building automated defenses and creating a maze, all of your towers and mazes are pre-built and won't fire unless you pull the trigger manually.
But the real twist is, you're observing a security feed from every tower or camera, and you have to manually select the camera you want to use to defend. And I thought that was a clever mechanic. It's stressful trying to keep an eye on so many different cameras and frantically trying to switch between them.
Affirmative. There are 2 classes of robots to fend off: Chaos Bots and Combat Bots. The Chaos Bots live up to their name by causing chaos and interfering with your cameras in various ways, while the Combat Bots head for your core, and they can take it down with just 1 hit.
Yeah, and they do a pretty good job of drip feeding you new types of enemy bots to deal with. Every few missions, you'll come up against something new to throw a spanner in the works, like those strangely terrifying chicken bots that run away with your cameras.
There's a good sense of progression for sure. And as you play, you'll level up and unlock special types of cameras, like one that can freeze enemies, or one that can slow time. At first, you can only put down 1 special camera, but you'll unlock the ability to put down lots more.
Before a mission starts, you're shown where enemies will spawn from, and you're free to move your cameras to anywhere on a wall. So figuring out your camera positions and where to put your special cameras adds a decent level of strategic planning.
Yeah, it does, but at the same time, I never found I had to move my cameras from the default spots. One thing I liked was the variety in the missions. There are 100 levels all up, and a lot of them are bonus missions which throw interesting new rules at you. For example, you might get limited ammo, or all the robots might parachute into the level.
There's also an online mode where you can design a squad of robots that other players will need to fight off. As you successfully fight off other players' squads, or your squad successfully destroys other players' bases, you'll go up in the ranks.
Yeah, that's a nice addition, and this is an interesting spin on tower defense. So guys, I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.
It's 3 from me as well.